Donald Trump is panicking as Iran refuses to accept Donald Trump's surrender. Donald Trump desperately wants a ceasefire, so he had Steve Witkoff reach out repeatedly to Iranian leadership, as reported by The Guardian, and say, please, can we have a ceasefire? Not only is Iran saying no to the ceasefire, Iranian leadership continues to threaten to vanish Donald Trump. They say your paper threats do not scare us. They threaten to eliminate Donald Trump. Repeated death threats they continue to make against Donald Trump. The Guardian reports Iran has spurned 2 messages from Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, seeking a ceasefire as its leaders in Iran sense it is not losing the war and that Donald Trump is at a minimum feeling political pressure at home. The article is called "Iran is Becoming More Defiant in the Face of U.S.-Israeli Onslaught." And we see Iran continuing to strike at Israel, continuing to strike at American bases in the region. We learned earlier yesterday that Iran was putting all of these mines in the Strait of Hormuz. When you look at the Strait of Hormuz, essentially zero traffic is moving through the Strait of Hormuz still, despite Donald Trump and his regime lying that there were Navy convoys that were helping move these cargo ships, which was false. And then Donald Trump's regime blamed statements that the Navy was helping the cargo ships pass through the Strait of Hormuz on staffers and interns, and said, oh, it was just a staffer and intern who made these posts, which just completely imploded the oil markets yesterday. And you take a look at what went down also. You had major drone strikes on U.S. diplomatic facilities in Iraq, which were suspected retaliation by pro-Tehran militias. This was taking place in Iraq. 6 drones were launched toward the compound, 5 of which were shot down, but 1 hit the U.S. facility, said security officials. The strike hit the Baghdad Diplomatic Support Center, a sprawling logistical hub for American diplomats near the Baghdad airport. Also, we saw strikes and heard strikes in Erbil in Iraq. Israeli media outlet N12 said a defense source believes that toppling the Iranian regime is looking less and less realistic by the day, and instead the goal should be weakening or crippling infrastructure, but that regime change is now impossible. Really? Because isn't that what the Trump regime said we were going to be doing? Isn't that what the Netanyahu regime said that were going to take place? Take a look right here at the outbound transits right now within the Strait of Hormuz. As this one commentator says, you will likely need a microscope because there ain't no ships that are leaving the Strait of Hormuz. But the Trump regime lied about it. And there was a report from the Energy Department that oil tankers were getting Navy escorts, which was not happening. So deleted tweet from Energy Secretary sent the oil markets on another wild ride yesterday. A now erased post from Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary, whipsawed crude for the second straight session. A message that was posted by Trump's Secretary of Energy vanished within minutes, leaving investors the world over struggling to see through the fog of war emanating from the Trump regime itself. And the Energy Department is blaming staffers for inaccurate social media posts. A spokesperson said that a video clip posted by Energy Secretary Chris Wright was deleted from his official X account after it was determined it was incorrectly captioned by department staff. The post, which claimed that the U.S. Navy had helped an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz, was quickly taken down. Spokesperson Ben Dietrich said the secretary and other officials are closely monitoring the situation in the strait, a key access point for oil and natural gas shipments in the Middle East. The military is considering additional options to keep it open, including potential for our Navy to escort tanks, Dietrich says. The prospect of military escorts could help reduce price pressure created by the war. Except it ain't happening. It's too dangerous. Ain't no traffic moving through it. And this just blew up the markets. I mean, here's how one person describes it. In case you missed it, because you probably did, somebody placed a massive short on oil right before Energy Secretary Chris Wright posted a tweet claiming U.S. naval forces had escorted an oil tanker through the Hormuz Strait. Oil dropped $5 a barrel over the next few minutes, the short covered. 8 minutes later, it was revealed that Wright's story was a complete fabrication, and he deleted all mention of it from the internet. Oil prices shot back up $5 a barrel. The mystery short seller made $100 million in 8 minutes right there. And the U.S. Navy tells the shipping industry, "You on your own." They're saying that Hormuz escorts not possible for now. The U.S. Navy refusing near daily requests from the shipping industry for help. Can't do it. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy, like other senators, attended a briefing by the Department of Defense today about the war in Iran. Here's what Chris Murphy said. "I was in a 2-hour briefing today on the Iran war. All of the briefings are closed because Trump can't defend this war in public." So pause there. One of the tactics being used by the Trump regime is to falsely label things as classified so that he cannot tell the American public about it, things that shouldn't be classified. So he holds these public deranged pressers where he's not actually saying what's happening and he's lying, but then he holds these classified briefings on information that normally would be revealed to the American people. For example, yesterday we learned 150 soldiers were wounded. 150 were wounded. That was being covered up. Senator Murphy goes on to say, "Look, I obviously can't disclose classified info, but you deserve to know how incoherent and incomplete these war plans are. Here's what I can share. Maybe the lead is that the war goals do not involve destroying Iran's nuclear weapons program. This is surprising since Trump says over and over again this is the key goal. But then, of course, we already know airstrikes can't wipe out their nuclear material. Second, they confirmed regime change is also not on the list. So they are going to spend hundreds of billions of your taxpayer dollars, get a whole bunch of Americans killed, and a hardline regime, probably more anti-American hardline regime than the one before, will still be in charge." Okay, so what are the goals? It seems primarily destroying lots of missiles and boats and drone factories. But the question that stumped them, what happens when you stop bombing? Do they just restart production? They hinted at more bombing, which is, of course, an endless war. Oh, and on the Strait of Hormuz, they had no plan. I can't go into more detail about how Iran gums up the strait, but suffice it to say right now, they don't know how to get it safely back open, which is unforgivable because this part of the disaster was 100% foreseeable. So what are they doing on state regime media right now, which calls itself Fox? People like Laura Ingraham are now attacking the Iranian people for not doing an uprising. Laura Ingraham's like, "Where's the uprising? Where's the uprising?" Here, play this clip.
Well, that was the night that we launched Operation Epic Fury. But now that the United States is close to reaching its objectives there, where are the Iranian uprisings?
Now, let me show you what's going on Saudi media. And again, I just want to give you perspectives of internationally what's taking place. On Saudi Arabia media, you have guests like this. He says the following: "The insolence of Karaham and religious fanaticism and the bungling of the American administration, a military decision without political planning. If Trump declared victory through destroying the regime's capabilities and killing the leadership, the fundamental problems remain unsolved. I said before the Hormuz fog news that Tehran is promoting a long war of attrition. And despite the public discontent inside Iran, the external bombing has bolstered national sentiment, led to the regime's cohesion instead of its collapse, contrary to the Trump expectations. The irony is that a war whose goal was regime change might end with a weaker but more ferocious regime and a region living in a more dangerous balance than ever before." And so, lots of people who don't understand this region are saying, why is Saudi Arabia media and other Arab nation media pissed at the United States? Well, they're pissed at Israel, but pissed at the United States and not Iran when Iran is launching the weapons at the Arab nations. Because what the Arab nations are saying is, Trump regime, you never consulted us before you went to war. You had the Oman foreign minister broker a mediated resolution with Iran. As the matter settled and people believed we were just moving on to technical conversation, that's when the United States invaded Iran because they were told that Netanyahu was going to invade first. So the U.S. invaded. No allies were given warning. Everyone was thrown under the bus in the region. All these Arab nations that were basically bribing Donald Trump, this quid pro quo money to Trump companies, thinking he would protect them and help them. Like, you just screwed us all over royally. We warned you that Iran would retaliate against us if you did this. Iran's plan was this war of attrition and to harm the economic interests. That was their goal the whole time. And you fell right into the trap. And now, Trump regime, you've made the Ayatollah, the new one, Mojaba, stronger. The Islamic Republic now has a stronger grip on the people of Iran. There were protests in January, Donald. You told people go out and protest against the Ayatollah and you would have their back. You didn't have their back. Tens of thousands of Iranian protesters were killed. You now are calling all of the Iranian people nasty humans. You said that in a press conference. You said they're nasty humans and they are menacing people. All Iranians, not just referring to the Islamic Republic, you're referring to all of the people in Iran. So you've actually driven support by also bombing hospitals, bombing elementary schools, killing 150 little girls, blowing up desalination facilities. You've turned the populace more against the U.S. You've built national endeavor against the U.S. The Ayatollah is consolidating control. You've made the situation worse. And Iran, I mean, they have a lot of weapons. They still have all these Shahid drones. They're easy and cheap for them to make. They're being supported by Russia. Russia has essentially, and look at what's happening in Russia and the Baltic states. Let's be very clear there. Russia is supporting Iran. Donald Trump is cozying up to Russia. The United States has never been weaker. Our allies have never been weaker right now as a result of what Donald Trump's doing. And look, Iran continues to turn. This is Tel Aviv yesterday. Look at what was going on in Tel Aviv yesterday. A lot of these missiles were going through. As observers who were there were saying pandemonium. Sirens begin mid-boom, advanced warnings left hanging for long minutes, strikes from Lebanon and Iran, rolling sirens that move sector to sector, attacks all over the country. No one knows or says anything, but incessant babbling and empty boasts. Tel Aviv is getting hit pretty hard right now. And one of the developments that Iran has developed are these cluster munitions, so that when these missiles go over Tel Aviv, they spread out and it's harder for the Patriot and THAAD systems to hit them. Here's a state regime media host on Fox describing what went down. Play this clip.
And to the break here, we have sirens in Tel Aviv. Let's go back to correspondent Nate Foy, who is on the ground there. Hi, Nate.
Hey, Martha. So, yeah, as you can hear, the sirens are going off here in Tel Aviv, something that we've seen several times throughout the entire day. And what we could see here momentarily are interceptor missiles fired off. We have seen it right over my shoulder several different times. Again, Iran continues to show an offensive capability, launching missiles at central Israel. We have one interceptor over my shoulder right now. We can't show you because we can't show landmarks, Martha, but something that has really changed here over the past couple days is the use of these cluster munitions by Iran, where the warhead breaks up into several different bomblets. And that's really important because not only does it spread the damage, but it makes it more difficult to defend against.
You have Iran announcing that they are now targeting enemy technological infrastructure in the region. You have Iranian media mocking the Trump regime, saying, "Dear Americans, your president is a pedophile." You have the Iranian foreign minister basically calling Trump the Epstein class and saying, look, the American people, you wanted affordability and no endless wars. Look at what Donald Trump is giving you. You have them understanding the propaganda tools and describing the suffering of the American people. Then you got Donald Trump attacking the Iranian people and saying they're very menacing. A few other data points, though, I want to talk about. I want to talk just a little bit about domestic news. Pam Bondi now has to live in military bases because she's so scared of everything. She's scared of Maduro supporters. She's scared of people who are pissed at her for covering up the Epstein files. So she's moved out of her DC apartment, and she's afraid of all these threats that she gets from cartels, she says. So she's living on a military base while she covers up the Epstein files. They're all building bunkers for themselves and building military bases, for themselves. I'm going to do a whole video, or they're living in military bases. I'll do a whole other video on this morning, so make sure you watch it. But Prime Minister Carney of Canada in the Canadian Parliament yesterday said Canada will never participate with the United States in an offensive against Iran. You have that going down. You have Senator John Husted of Ohio, this MAGA Republican senator, while the American people are suffering. He basically says, if you live in poverty, you're just not experienced in navigating the real world. This is what they're saying. This is the Republican message, that if you are living through poverty, you're just not smart. You just don't understand how money works. That's why you deserve it. This is what MAGA Republicans are saying. How utterly horrific. Here, play this clip.
And people living in poverty are just not very experienced at navigating the real world, right? I remember talking to one young lady who said, well, I don't really know how money works at a grocery store, because she grew up and has lived all of her adult life using SNAP cards to buy groceries. And so you literally have to teach people how to budget. The buzzword today, let's face it, it's affordability, right?
Now you also have MAGA, you have the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, James Blair, urging House Republicans on Tuesday at their event in Doral in Florida to stop publicly emphasizing mass deportations and instead focus on removing violent criminals during a policy listening session. Your whole platform was mass deportations. We saw what you did. And what's going on here? Well, Americans are seeing endless wars, cover up of Epstein files, ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo killing Americans. And you saw some of those special elections last night. The Democrat in Georgia's 14th, Sean Harris, getting into the runoff, basically getting the same votes, if not more, than the MAGA Republican candidate. At least as of late reporting results, Sean Harris was in the lead. The Democratic candidate in Marjorie Taylor Greene's congressional district. Democrat could flip Marjorie's district. It's like a plus. What, Marjorie Taylor Greene would win that seat by 70 points. She would win 70%. That district can now flip blue. So you look at Georgia. Let's go up north to New Hampshire. Democrats flipped the New Hampshire seat. Turnout was enormous there. New Hampshire's state house seat. Carroll District 7. Bobby Boudman beat Dale Fincher, Democrat flipping this seat that was previously a +9 Trump seat. So a 13-point overperformance for Democrats in the state House District number 7 in New Hampshire. A 16-point overperformance in the special elections in Marjorie Taylor Greene seat. Folks, something is happening right now. You see what's going down? Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. Thank you all for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.